All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the oldest and honestly one of the most devastating attacks on the internet. We're talking about a vulnerability that can turn a simple login box into a master key for a website's entire database. Let's get into it. I want you to just imagine this for a second. What if you could walk up to any locked door, whisper a kind of secret phrase, and just have it swing wide open? Well, that's not magic. That is the digital reality of an attack called SQL injection. And yeah, that's exactly what SQL injection is. It's a digital backdoor that hackers can just walk right through. And the crazy part? It doesn't require any super complex software or some overwhelming brute force attack. Nope. Just a clever understanding of the language websites use to talk to their data. So what is it really? Well, SQL injection is when an attacker injects their own database commands into a totally normal input field, like a search bar or a login box. If the website's code isn't properly secured, it takes this malicious input and just runs it, thinking it's a legitimate instruction. It completely breaks its own rules. And the amount of damage this can do, it is just staggering. This isn't some minor glitch. An attacker can steal everything, passwords, credit card numbers, you name it. They can log in as an administrator without even needing a password. They can change data or just delete the entire database. And sometimes they can even take over the whole server. The stakes here are incredibly high. So how does this digital heist actually go down? Let's break down the anatomy of an attack step by step. You'll see it's surprisingly simple and almost kind of elegant in how deceptive it is. Okay, so our scene starts with something you and I see every single day, a login form. The website is expecting a username and a password. The plan is to take those two things and check them against its user database. Pretty standard stuff. Now this slide right here, this is where the magic, or I guess the dark magic, happens. On the left, you see what the developer intended. It's a simple command to check if a username and a password match up. But look at the right. The attacker has slipped in a sneaky bit of code that completely changes the question being asked. And this is the little bit of text that breaks everything. The phrase, or 1 equals 1. By typing this into the username box, the attacker changes the entire logic. The question the database gets is now, hey, find me a user where the username is empty or where 1 equals 1. And since 1 always equals 1, right, the condition is instantly automatically true. The password check doesn't even matter anymore. The database just says, yep, sounds good to me, and grants access. Now just bypassing a login screen, that's often just the beginning. With this exact same vulnerability, a malicious attacker can go from just stealing stuff to causing total irreversible destruction. This is where we go from unauthorized access to just catastrophic data loss. The same digital key that lets an attacker sneak in the back door can also be used to burn the entire house down. And this is where it gets genuinely terrifying. An attacker types this string into the username field. Now, to you and me, it might look like total nonsense, but to a vulnerable database, this is a devastating set of commands designed to completely delete the entire user table. So how does that even work? Well, it's all about that little semicolon. It acts as a command separator. It basically tells the database, okay, that login check command you were about to do, that's done. Now here's a brand new command for you. Drop table Philhosnaluk. And that command means exactly what it sounds like. Delete the entire user table. Poof, gone. And that double dash at the end, that just tells the database to ignore the rest of the original code so it doesn't cause an error. Just like that, everything is erased. Okay, so that was the scary part. The good news, the great news, is that this is an entirely preventable problem. So let's talk about how to build a digital fortress that is basically immune to this kind of attack. The absolute #1 defense, the core principle, boils down to one simple, powerful idea. You have to separate your commands from the data. The database has to know what the instruction is before it ever even sees the input from a user. And the gold standard for doing this is something called parameterized queries, or prepared statements. Here's the idea. You send the database a command template first with placeholders where the user's input will go. The database gets this template, compiles it, and basically locks in the logic. Let's break that down. First, your application sends the command template, something like select star from users, where username equals question mark. The database prepares for that exact command. Second, you send the user's input separately. Even if it's that malicious or 1 equals 1 string, it's just sent as plain old text. Finally, the database just safely plugs that string into the placeholder. It never tries to run it as a command. It's like trying to pay for your groceries with a piece of paper that says, "This is money." The cashier knows the difference, and so does the database. The attack fails completely. So prepared statements are your main fortress wall. But any good castle has more than one layer of defense, right? So let's add a few more critical reinforcements to make things truly unbreakable. First up, the principle of least privilege. Basically, don't give your web app's database account permission to do destructive things like drop table. If it doesn't have the power to do it, the attack can't succeed. Second, hide detailed error messages from the public. These errors give hackers valuable clues about your database. Show users a generic error page instead. And finally, keep everything updated. Seriously, software updates often contain crucial security patches that fix these kinds of vulnerabilities. So we've seen how a single, simple line of text can become a master key and cause all kinds of destruction. But we've also seen how to build a defense that's pretty much unbreakable. The solution isn't some big secret, it's a well-known industry standard, which really only leaves one question. How many websites out there just forgot to lock the back door?